You know, it's funny. People assume confidence is this thing you're either born with or you magically acquire by drinking some sort of enchanted tea made from Himalayan moonlight. But honestly, most of the confident people I've met in my life, in Hollywood, in wellness circles, even at my kids' school, they're just people who figured out how to sound confident long before they ever actually felt that way. And English, especially when you're learning it as a second language, is one of those areas where everybody quietly panics but pretends they aren't. So if you've ever thought, I wish I sounded confident in English, you're like, absolutely not alone. I can't even tell you how many times I've been sitting somewhere, an interview, a dinner, one of those charity events where nobody really eats but everyone talks, and someone next to me leans in and whispers, I hope my English sounds okay. And I always want to hug them and tell them, sweetheart, half the people in this room are faking it too. Confidence is performance. But not in a bad way. It's more like slipping into a slightly elevated version of yourself. The version who has slept 8 hours, hydrated, taken a deep breath, and genuinely believes she deserves to take up space in a room. Now, when we talk about English specifically, there's something people misunderstand. They think sounding confident comes from having a perfect vocabulary. No, not at all. I've met people who know thousands of English words but speak like they're apologizing to the air. And then I've met people with a smaller vocabulary who walk into a room and their energy says, I'm here, I'm awake, I'm present. And yes, I will be speaking now. That's the version we want. English doesn't ask you to be perfect. English asks you to be clear, and clarity is easier than you think. It starts with something embarrassingly simple, slowing down. I know that sounds strange because we tend to associate speed with intelligence, as if talking fast makes you appear dynamic or sharp. But when you slow down, your words sound intentional. You don't rush, you don't spiral, you don't give the impression that you're running after your own sentences like a toddler chasing a balloon on a windy day. Slow voices give this sense of groundedness. It's the verbal equivalent of good posture. And speaking of posture, oh my God, posture changes everything. I swear, if you lift your chin a little and relax your shoulders before you speak English, you instantly gain like 15 confidence points. I don't know the neuroscience, but I deeply believe in the spiritual posture-language connection. When you sit like you owe the world an apology, your voice apologizes too. When you sit like you're allowed to exist, your English blossoms. Truly. Another thing people forget is that natural flaws create warmth. When I first started acting, I used to obsess over speaking perfectly. And then one day, a director said to me, stop polishing every breath, leave the cracks. And I realized that's what makes a voice feel alive. The tiny pauses, the let me think, the moments where your brain and mouth negotiate a treaty. Those things aren't mistakes, they're human fingerprints. So if you're learning English, please don't hide your fillers. Use them kindly, gently, well, I guess. Let me see. What's the word? You're not revealing weakness. You're revealing humanity, and people connect to humanity much more than they connect to flawless grammar. You know what else helps? Soft confidence phrases. They're like little cushions for your sentences. If you feel unsure, you can wrap your thoughts in gentle beginnings. I'd say, I feel like, in my experience, I might be wrong, but these don't weaken your speech. They make it approachable. They signal calmness, not fear. And I also want to say this, and I say it with a lot of love. Confidence is not loudness. You don't have to shout. You don't have to dominate a room. You don't have to be the human equivalent of an alarm clock. Some of the most powerful voices I've ever heard were quiet. They didn't try to convince anyone of anything. They just spoke, and the way they carried themselves made people listen. Confidence is presence, not volume. Before I end this first part, I just want to gently whisper something into your day. If you haven't subscribed yet, you should subscribe. Only if it feels right. Only if you want to stay and learn with me, and maybe click the like button too. Only because it helps more learners find these conversations, and I love being able to support people on their journey. All right, take a breath, stretch your shoulders, hydrate, let's continue. Now let's go deeper into this beautiful little puzzle called confidence in English. And yes, I genuinely think it's beautiful because the moment a person decides to learn a new language, they're essentially choosing growth. They're choosing expansion. They're choosing discomfort intentionally. And that in itself is confidence. People often ask me, Gwyneth, what do I do if I forget a word? And honestly, my answer is celebrate. Because forgetting a word forces you into one of the most magical language skills you can ever learn, paraphrasing. Native speakers do it constantly. You think we always have the exact word? Absolutely not. I can't tell you how many times I've been mid-conversation, waved my hands around dramatically, and said something like, the thing, the thing you put the thing into, and someone goes, a charger? And I'm like, yes, thank you. I knew it started with a vibe. When you forget a word and explain around it, you sound creative, not insecure. One of the most powerful tricks is what I call the curated pause. It's this tiny moment of stillness where you let silence work for you instead of against you. Most language learners fear silence. They panic. They fill it with apologies. But if you let silence breathe for a moment, just a small, elegant inhale, people interpret it as thoughtfulness, reflection, depth. Suddenly your sentence sounds confident, even if your brain is screaming internally. Another secret? Own your mistakes. Own them gracefully. If you say a word wrong, instead of freezing, just smile and correct yourself softly. Oh, wait, not that, this. Or let me say that better. It shows self-awareness, not insecurity. And that's a very confident energy. And please don't underestimate humor. Humor is like emotional alchemy. If you forget a tense, or you mix up words, or you accidentally say something slightly ridiculous, you can just laugh and say, my English is having a moment. People will adore you. They'll root for you. They'll relax around you, which makes you relax even more. Humor opens doors that grammar cannot. Confidence also grows when you talk about things you actually enjoy, when you speak English about topics that light you up, cooking, films, travel, skincare, your cat who behaves like a tiny emperor. Your voice naturally shifts. You lean in, you glow. You stop thinking about the mechanics of language and you start thinking about connection. Connection always sounds confident. I've had moments in my life where I absolutely did not feel confident, yet everyone around me assumed I was. And it made me realize something. Confidence is not a feeling. It's a behavior. And behaviors can be practiced. I didn't always feel calm, grounded, or articulate, but I practiced appearing that way until the act became authentic. Confidence is a slow, gentle unfolding. And because this is the era of sharing, let me share one last thing. If you're learning English, you're not behind. You're not late. You're not less. You're in motion. You're growing. And anyone who grows is already, quietly, confidently extraordinary. So, if you want more conversations like this, more soft guidance, more natural speech, more little emotional vitamins disguised as English lessons, then, if you haven't subscribed yet, you should subscribe. Truly, it means a lot. And if you feel like leaving a like, that would be lovely too. I appreciate you for spending this time with me. And remember, confidence is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to speak anyway.